At this time, I will be opening up the Public Works and the public meeting, council meeting. Same time. Roll call, please.
Bishop, Patterson,
Yep.
Barron,
Here.
Ricky,
Here.
Fryer.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Before we go to flag salute, Mr. Bishop will not be here because she's getting prepared for surgery in the morning. So our prayers is with her. So everybody stand for flag salute. All would like to stand flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bob, would you like to lead us in prayer?
Sir. Father, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts. We're grateful for the rain you've provided and the refreshment that it brings. Lord, we thank you for nature, the nature you've created, and the blessings that come from communing with nature. Lord, we pray also for extra measure of your wisdom. Pray you'll be with this council tonight, and for the folks that are here, for the people that serve this community. You provide them with wisdom for the decisions that are to be made. You provide protection for the services that are to be rendered. Lord, we thank all this with grateful hearts in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Alrighty. Item 2, approval of the consent agenda. Is there anybody like to remove anything off the consent agenda? All right, at this time I entertain a motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
I'll make that motion.
Ricky,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Fryer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Discussion possible action regarding items removed. There was none. Review. Consideration possible action regarding item A, approval of the treasury report for April and sales tax usage tax.
You guys should have your packet from me with the bank statements and sales tax. Our sales tax this month was up again for the second month. I didn't expect that, but it's good. Our sales tax and our use tax has been up this year. We're at over 200,000 right now on just those two. All the franchises together with sales and use tax were above budget 183,000. And our bank statements, our T-bills, I don't know if you guys ever pay attention to that, but to me that's what I consider our savings account. If I'm not having to constantly move money, we try to keep as much there as we can.
Right.
Doesn't draw a lot of interest, but a little better, and I haven't had to move that in quite some time, so I'm real pleased with that.
That's good. Anybody have any questions for Patty at this time?
Patty, there was two of those usages that had quite a spike. What were those? What
I don't know. The one was like 47,000,
Yeah.
and I kept
And that was
thinking
like
they're going to come back and
20-some
take it away,
Yeah.
but they have not.
So we
I
don't really-
think that I don't know. It's like everybody is reporting like they're supposed to be with the building and everything going on. I don't know.
I just caught my eye and I
Yeah,
thought, well, that's kind
yeah.
of
I don't want to
unusual.
question it, but I kept thinking they would take it back, but they would have by now.
We'll know about Country Boy, what, 2 months from now? About 2 months sales tax.
We're
will
2
be-
months
See how
behind.
much it takes effect.
Has Danny given any preliminary indication about impact?
Not to me, has he, Mr. Carson?
We have talked about it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about with Firelight?
Yeah, new store opening.
He's competing. If you've looked at the
Well,
sale
you can tell.
papers,
That's
yeah,
what you
yeah. I don't think it's going to hurt him. I don't.
I just think he'll gain more people down south coming out. Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the treasury report as is.
So moved.
Second.
Patterson,
Yes.
Prankey,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Fryer,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item B, appoint representative of the Association of Central Oklahoma Government Board. Earl?
Kim presently serves on that. I think she would like to continue to serve on that if the council so wills it.
I talked to her the other day and she said she'd like to serve on it, so I make a motion to, okay. I entertain a motion to accept Kim Bishop.
I move we extend Kim Bishop's membership of the ACOG board since she's willing and doing the job.
Second?
Barron,
Yes.
Prankey,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Fryer,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item C, appoint new members to the EOC board.
I have Deke's resignation letter, and I think some of y'all are aware of the issues he's needing to deal with right now with his family, so he has requested that we appoint somebody else to represent the city on the partnership board.
Well, if nobody is wanting to volunteer for that, I would like to nominate Joe because that will give him an opportunity to be with that
Eastern
board
Oklahoma
over
County.
there and kind of see how that operates.
I'd be up for trying it and seeing how it operates, and you know, if I'm not in agreement, then we can move elsewhere next month or the month after.
Okay.
With that said, I'll second it.
Barron,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Prankey, Fryer.
Yes, I guess. Vote for yourself.
Yes, you did get mine.
Motion carried. Yes, sir.
Item D, approve, disapprove the rescinding of resolution number 12-15-2016 CC3. Joe, I believe you had this put on there?
Yeah, I think we all probably know what this is, right? We know what it is? Okay. You know, this was an issue for me because I've talked to a few of you, and we didn't have any discussion that night. I was here that night. A couple of people have told me we voted for it because we were scared of what they may do. And I would like to now present some information, since there was none that night, and maybe have a discussion about what we may or may not be getting ourselves into. You know, I don't know, I wasn't here then. I don't know how this came to us. I've been told it got sent to us, and we were told, well, there's just, it's coming and that's it. Nothing you can do about it. For the audience that doesn't know, we're talking about the turnpike. You know, I don't think that the turnpike would have came to us and said, hey, the turnpike's coming, but if you want to stop it, this is what you need to do. You know, I don't know that we made an informed vote in December for the item we were supporting. You know, I don't know if you guys did any research beforehand or if you've done any research since on the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority or what we are in support of. Maybe we saw this. The Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has a history of inflated projections. This is a Sunday paper above the fold, top of the page. This isn't some Tuesday thing buried in, you know, the news there. If I may, I'll quote some of it here. Over the past 55 years, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has consistently missed the mark with traffic and revenue studies it has commissioned to justify and market bonds for new turnpikes. An investigation by the Oklahoman revealed the Turnpike Authority has built 9 turnpikes since 1961. Actual revenues have failed to meet projections for every one of those 9 turnpikes during their first 5 years of operation. You know, so, I mean, have we been lied to for, what is that, 55 years? They've had one that met its projections. It was the Turner. And I think we can all say the Turner was probably a good idea. Although, if you want to argue it from a economic development standpoint, think of how many towns and cities it ruined along Route 66. Let's see. They've been using CDM Smith for their traffic projections. Now let's just say we were going to all project something. Let's say we were all going to project the temperature tomorrow. Don't you think one of us would be low? Maybe. It's conceivable we may all be high, but if we were going to do it, let's say we did it for 60 years, shouldn't we be low just once? You know, they're never low. They keep using them. This company is being sued in other states for inflated traffic projections, and that's who we've chosen to use. You know, they've said the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has announced plans to build these projects and has been finalizing routes, even though these studies are not yet complete. So we have no proof that this road is even needed, yet we want to come over 6 miles from 102 or 10 miles from 177 and spend $300 million. To me, that's not financially responsible. I think we all know the dire state of the budget now at the state level. I do understand how the turnpike's funded. You know, something else that came out, and you know, this isn't just me up there.
So for everybody's edification, who's funding this?
Who's funding the Turnpike Authority? They sell bonds. And then whoever, you know, if you own mutual funds and whatnot, you may be a bondholder, invested in one. So
it's not tax dollars?
No, well, let me get to that here. Not directly from the state. Here we are, Choctaw Times, again, front page. Local lawmaker Lewis Moore just happens to be our district representative out here. Time to hit pause on turnpikes. Local lawmaker calls for moratorium on building toll roads. State Representative Lewis Moore is calling for a moratorium on new turnpikes in Oklahoma until an agreement can be made to dedicate the current collection of fees and taxes on fuels, driver's license, and vehicles to roadways, highways, and bridges. And along that, they say they don't receive any money, but we've got Lewis's pie charts here where the Turnpike Authority Trust Fund is receiving $44 million.
From where?
Exactly, that's a great point. From where? From apparently the state motor fuel tax from the 2015 allocation. They're supposed to be 100% self-funded, and yet there's $44 million, and we're at a 1.2, 1.3 billion deficit this year. And don't get me wrong, that won't get us all the way back, but it's a start. You know, he also goes on to say in this, and it's really interesting, y'all ought to look at it, whether you agree with me or not, on how all the money is allocated. You know, there's 20 states that don't have toll roads. Tom, I think, aren't you from Arkansas, is that right? Does Arkansas have toll roads?
I don't know of one.
Well, they don't. I've looked at it. But so, you know, what I'm getting at is we are supporting a state problem. You know, there's 20 other states that don't have toll roads. You know, why can't we be one of them? Deke, I spoke with you before and let you know that we were second in toll roads, and you thought that we weren't. And I don't know if you ever proceeded with that or not, and if you didn't, that's fine.
What do you mean proceeded with that?
Proceeded with research into whether we were or were not.
I did.
Okay, what did you find out?
We're first.
We're first. Well,
We're first in toll roads, and we're not in the top 20 in the revenue generated from tolls.
Right, and that's what did you see it on the Ask Fox by
We're
chance?
like the third cheapest tolls in the nation.
Right, okay. So I wonder where you saw first, because I've got here Oklahoma's 606 miles of toll roads is second in the nation for sheer miles, trailing
It was
Florida's.
number of toll roads. It went,
Number total. Okay, mileage. Okay, so mileage, we're second. Okay, we are second. We have almost the most turnpike miles of any state. 20 states have no toll roads at all. Now, let's get to here what we're supporting with some traffic studies that have been done. Did anybody see Jack Fry on TV last week? Jack Fry's state senator now, former mayor of Midwest City. He came up with his whole own reason for the Eastern Loop, and he's saying it's to keep us off the BRAC Commission. You two probably maybe are aware of what BRAC Commission is. Yeah, so, you know, we've never been on there, and I asked Jack, I've been down to the Capitol a couple times, I asked Jack, I said, Jack, did you see the 2008 Tinker Joint Land Use Study? And, you know, in there is no desire nor necessity for an Eastern Loop. In fact, in that same study, it says Oklahoma City does not favor the creation of an interstate bypass in the southeast sector, primarily because of the potential development that could occur as a result of increased traffic capacity. In addition to potential encroachment issues, if high-density land uses are permitted along major thoroughfares, traffic counts could increase to levels that could create security risks for Tinker. Now, this is their own study. Now, let's look at some other studies. We're all familiar with ACOG. We just got Kim on there. This loop doesn't exist in the Encompass 2035, nor does it exist in the Encompass 2040. The Encompass 2035 plan does have a part in it for the gate at Hogback Road, although they didn't want it to be constructed until after 2026, so we're ahead of the curve there. This eastern loop does not exist in the Oklahoma City Area Regional Transportation Study of the 2025, 2030, or 2035 OCARTs. It does not exist in the Oklahoma City Highway Improvements maps. It doesn't exist in the Oklahoma City Land Use map. The eastern loop does not exist anywhere in the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's 2005 to 2030 statewide intermodal transportation plan, or in the Oklahoma Long Range Transportation Plan from 2015 to 2040. Doesn't exist either in Norman's or Edmonds transportation plans that are pushed all the way to 2030 and 2025. So what we've got here is, I feel, and maybe you guys feel differently, that we made an uninformed decision on what to support. I don't know if you guys feel like telling me, but can you enlighten me on why you voted the way you did to support the resolution and the letter that we wrote about Turnpike?
Well, I'll tell you my support for the resolution. I mean, if you want to know about support for the resolution. I really think for this area out here, Turnpike would be a plus.
Okay.
Now, if you're going anywhere besides Midwest City on 29th Street or into Oklahoma City on I-40, I think it would be a real plus. But
just in transportation time or drive time?
Transportation and ease of going major north-south routes.
Right.
Even east or west, because it connects you with the interstates. Really.
Sure.
I mean, given the fact that there's going to be interchanges at 23rd, 29th, and Reno, for this area, it gives immediate access to good highway access to the interstates. But that's...
Sure. Along those lines, do you feel like maybe this could have been accomplished differently?
Well, probably, but I don't think that the state would vote any taxes to change roads, like increase the capabilities of either 102 or any of these other roads.
Well, I mean,
they can't keep them paved. It's
right.
doubtful if they're going to rebuild or widen or do anything else to the existing roads. But I don't know.
We applied, and I talked to Earl about this. I believe when I say we, Harrah and maybe Eastern Oklahoma County in general, and we applied with the county in 2009 for a federal Tiger grant, got declined or whatever. We never applied again, and that was to Super 2 Luther Road. We're not talking about, we're not talking about, taking over other people's land. We would have been using what's already pre-existing. They would have made it like 177. I own land up to Luther, I'd go for that. Be free to users, wouldn't be costing people, wouldn't add to what will probably put us first in turnpikes, wouldn't make a state agency be almost $2 billion in debt when this is over. This is going to take our bond payments out to, I believe, 2049.
You mean for the turnpike?
Yeah.
Did you pin down where, when they come up short on funds, how they're paying the bonds? I mean,
well, see,
I know you said
I'm glad you brought that up. We are one of the few states, we have what's called cross-funding, okay? So they can sit and make these over projections for years and years and years, because what they can do is they pull money from Turner. Turner makes the most in the state. So if this one out here doesn't, probably perform as it's supposed to, they get to pull money from Turner to pay for this one. So that's how it's covered. And so that does make them they're rated well by the bond office. Something I found interesting too, the director of the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority just resigned in January. In a 2014 interview, they asked him if there was any chances of expansion, and he said there's nothing on the horizon. And that is what I'm getting at, in that it doesn't exist in any of these transportation studies. It doesn't exist anywhere. Since we're a town that is going to be so affected by this thing, shouldn't they have at least gave us some numbers to look at? Shouldn't they at least said, hey, look,
what kind of numbers are you looking for?
traffic? Okay, well, let's see. It depends. Let's give numbers, or let's receive numbers from them. to back up claims they're making. Okay, well, we're gonna do it first. Well, they said because of economic development, which everybody found out you can't use eminent domain for that. So then they're pushing traffic alleviation. Then they're pushing safety. This one guy was even quoted as saying people are going to get to OU games faster. You know, and that may have been tongue in cheek, but nonetheless.
They may, but that's not important.
Right, exactly. Especially important enough to take somebody's land.
It might be important.
So what I'm getting at is here, nothing's been proven to us. Nothing's been proven to the rest of the citizens of Eastern Oklahoma County. You know, if the need for this thing was so there, wouldn't it exist in one of those transportation plans? Wouldn't it exist somewhere in ODOT's 8-year construction plans? Or if the data was just so blatant, wouldn't we just have it on the front wall? You know, wouldn't we have it? Wouldn't it? They'd be putting it on every telephone pole out here, and we'd all go, you know, I guess they're right. We need it. You know, I think it's really funny if you guys remember at the beginning of this, and you may not remember, our Congressman Steve Russell he got to speak at all the meetings. You know, he lives over close to XXX. Well, and he said, you know, if I need to give up my house for the greater good and the need can be proven, then so be it. We've still got no proven need, and Steve's gone quiet because now the route's 2 miles from his house. Nonetheless, you know, that proven need is still not there. And being that the way, you know, I spent some time at the Capitol and I talked to more than a few representatives and senators, and I posed the question to Mark Allen, Representative Jolly.
What do they have to share?
Mark Allen, you know, I asked a lot of them aren't our district. So I said to Mark Allen, for instance, I said, Mark, do you feel Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is out of control? Absolutely. He said they have no oversight. No one, remember like when we all took civics class, 7th and 8th grade, remember checks and balances? You know how we even kind of have them here? Nobody's checks and balances with OTA. They're all appointed board members. A lot of them just happen to be donors to Mary Fallon's campaign. Does that make anything illegal? No, absolutely not. Unethical, maybe. But nonetheless, you know, they've been without oversight for so long. You know, without cross-funding, if they couldn't cross-fund, you know, 6,300 cars a day, is what this is saying, is not going to pay for a $300 million road. I think we may have more than 6,300 cars a day on Harrah Road. I don't know, Earl, do you know?
Are citizens with factual information on that? Because I have spoken to the bond advisor, and I don't know if you want to know what he said.
I'd love to hear it.
I don't.
You don't?
You want to hear?
Do what?
You want to hear what?
I'm listening to his presentation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just...
I don't really need to hear what the bond proposal is, no. She certainly can share that after the meeting, though.
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, it may be pertinent now if we're going to make a vote on anything.
Well, he had asked a question about the bond office, is why I didn't know if he's...
It's just something, guys, I think that we maybe jumped the gun on. You know, I don't...
What's your impression of what that letter represented? What was that letter for?
Well, I mean, the resolution that we adopted, or Earl's letter?
What was the resolution for? What was its
Support
role?
of the turnpike.
Is that all it was for?
I mean, that's what I took it for. Did you take it for something else?
Yeah.
Okay, what was that?
It was a response to a request
About the moratorium.
about the moratorium.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I...
This also happened at a point in time, we didn't know what the turnpike was going to be.
Absolutely.
We knew the turnpike could be anywhere from 102 to Choctaw Road. That's anywhere.
Sure.
Right? So when I'm tasked as someone with fiduciary responsibility for the city and long-term viability,
Right.
and there's a possibility that a high-speed transportation artery that's going to connect to the one that's going to go through Norman,
Right.
it's going to come back around, it's going to connect to Mustang, and complete the loop around the metropolitan Oklahoma City area,
Right.
which exists 4 miles straight south. We're not in the country. Oklahoma City's right there. Okay?
That's debatable.
This is
No,
how,
that's not debatable. You're in a rural area. You're
I'm not going to be.
You're not in the country anymore.
I'm not going to
When I was a
be.
kid,
You know,
you was in the country.
Right?
I'm not trying to diminish your facts or your concerns.
No.
Or
Sure.
anybody's facts
Sure.
or concerns here, but that's how I make my decisions.
Right, okay, and...
Long-term viability for this
Right.
community, opportunities for schools, opportunities for more homes, to improve funding for schools. For example, Mr. Lewis Moore's pie graph.
Right.
You know what that was for, right? Didn't have anything to do with it. Yeah, I have it.
No, yeah.
See that right there? Yeah, I
I'm
have
glad
that
you're
email.
looking at it, right.
I've been looking at it.
Right.
He emailed it to me.
It has a lot on there for education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has a lot on there for education. He wants every one of these pieces of pie
Right.
to go to roads and bridges. Now, roads and bridges isn't a euphemism just for any piece of blacktop that exists here in Oklahoma. Roads and bridges is a specific entity at the Capitol funded by ODOT.
Right.
Okay? So we're looking at what? State motor fuel tax, state motor fuel and motor vehicle collections, right?
Right.
And then the motor vehicle collections allocation. He wants all of that
Right.
to go to roads and bridges.
Sure.
That's why he wants that moratorium.
Right.
OTA, whether we like it, whether they're dishonest, honest, all this other stuff, that's all well and good. But that's a really small piece of pie. My biggest concern here is the one for schools. That's $281 million he wants to pull out of schools for roads and bridges.
Right.
And they're already pulling all the
Oh,
money
yeah,
out of
yeah.
I've got no interest in taking $281 million out of schools
Right.
at all.
I'll agree to that. I mean, and that's, you know, if you want to get over, I mean, that's a separate discussion, obviously, with schools.
It's the same discussion because you're using this right here to
Right.
convince these people that Lewis Moore's on their side. He doesn't give a flying crap about these people in here.
Right.
He's not on their side. He's not on my side. This is a joke.
So the
I just
schools have been
dismissed
running
this.
on the
Ma'am,
transportation budget.
This is.
Okay, so I have no use for Mr. Moore in this comment right here.
Right, sure. What about, then how do you feel about 55 years is false?
To me, that is completely and totally irrelevant. Someone wants to give me projection numbers and you say they're high, they've been high for 55 years. What does that mean? What does that impact? What's the impact
It
on that?
means the need for this road doesn't exist.
To who?
Well, I mean, 55
To you
years.
and about 25 people in here and 5,000 signatures that came from God only knows where?
Right.
That's fine and that's great. I represent a contingency that wants the thing.
No, I mean, now, by once.
Do you hear that?
People?
I represent a constituency.
Where are they?
Where are they?
Right.
Give us a name, where are they? Let's see
Next
your
outburst,
support.
I'm gonna have every one of y'all leave here. Next outburst. This is a business meeting. This is not, yeah,
At the same
what you
time,
said.
I've talked to a few people that want it also. I've talked to people in your district that don't want it, you know, and I think that that's everywhere. Now, are the people that wanting it making an informed decision? I don't know. I don't know whether they are or not. I mean, you can have an opinion. Do you want something? Yes or no?
It's
And
not,
that's
it's really not my responsibility to determine if somebody who wants it's making an informed decision or an uninformed decision. If they want to get to an OU game faster, that's their prerogative. Last time I checked, this is a free society.
Absolutely.
And we're entitled to have difference of opinion.
Right.
I've also said to a number of people, if the turnpike's gonna run right through your backyard or your backyard, okay? If they're gonna run through your backyard and they can't make an amicable offer to you, I'm adamantly opposed to anything that would represent eminent domain through condemnation. That's a complete violation of property rights in my opinion. And I'll stand arm in arm with somebody. The same token, this is also still a free society. And until negotiations have happened above board, I'm not gonna stand in the way of it.
I'm glad you bring up their eminent domain cases because,
Lots of eminent domain cases, and they've lost a lot of eminent domain cases.
Exactly.
Why? Because they should have.
Right.
Due process
Definitely.
worked.
Definitely.
Exactly.
It did. It did.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know how I can tell it to you guys any better about, you know, would we be opposed to a vote of the citizens?
I don't think
I think
the
the
Turnpike Authority ever goes out for a vote of the citizens.
No, I'm saying just our citizens to see how the actual citizens of Harrah feel.
Well, let us say something. Whether we signed anything supported, not supported, that Turnpike Authority is gonna do what they determine to do unless the state prevents them from doing it. And like Deke said, when the moratorium came out and we did the resolution, no one knew where the road was gonna be. It just said that we supported the fact that the citizens in this area would probably benefit from the fact that there was a high-speed corridor went north-south connecting the interstates.
Well, it's important to remind everybody that response also the city of Harrah refused to issue a moratorium that could affect people's rights on the theory that this turnpike might affect somebody, and we clearly declined to exercise any moratorium on development. Weren't going to affect any property owner's rights based on what if. And of course, they wanted you to.
Right.
The Turnpike Authority wanted you to put a moratorium. City of Harrah refused. And there's a couple of concepts that need to be pointed out here. One is the projections have obviously been off for many, many years, but the Turnpike Authority has never defaulted on a bond in the history of the Turnpike, because whether the reflections are off or not, they do raise enough money to pay their bond debt, and these roads have all been paid for without any taxpayer money ever. Secondly, as we've discussed in 3 or 4 prior meetings, there's nothing that the city of Harrah can do today to change the path or to stop the turnpike. Now, if you're faced with an inevitable result that we didn't have a choice on, and you know it's coming, is it wise for this council to poke the Turnpike Authority in the eye and say, we don't like what you're doing? Or is it better to try to get them to create some benefits that could help Harrah, such as where you want the exits? Because they might listen to where you want the exits. And they might listen to some sound barriers and some other things that could affect Harrah's future. But no matter what, because they publicly said at the end of one of the last meetings where almost everybody that attended the meeting was opposed to the turnpike. And what was the action of the Turnpike Authority? Folks, we're building this whether you like it or not. And they mean it. They are autonomous. They don't have much oversight. And realizing all that was a factor in why Harrah was willing to say, okay, we won't give you a moratorium, but we don't oppose the turnpike coming. And once you define your area, we'll look at whether moratoriums are appropriate or not. And at the same time, I advised them that every property owner who ends up being directly affected will have the full due process of the law to get maximum value. Because the Turnpike Authority is legally, constitutionally obligated to pay the highest and best use for every tract they take. So if I own a vegetable garden and they come to take my vegetable garden, if I can prove that, yeah, I'm doing a vegetable garden today, but the real value of my property is to develop a subdivision of homes, they have to pay me for the value it would be worth in a subdivision. And if their appraisers don't match what I believe is the highest and best value, I have the right to take them to court, and a jury of my peers will decide how much my land is worth. That is the constitutional protection for all the citizens and I've been on both sides of condemnations. I've been representing property owners where the ODOT was trying to take property, not for turnpikes, but for just regular highways. I've also represented cities where there was property that needed to be acquired. But before they can acquire it, they're required to offer you market value, and then you can argue on what is market value. And if you can't convince them, they cannot stop your right for a jury trial.
Right.
And I can tell you, I've had my chin kicked pretty hard by juries when I was condemning property for a sewer line on behalf of cities, 100% necessary, no way to avoid it. In the city of Mustang, we had to take a sewer line from downtown Mustang south to the river. And we had to go through rural farms. Well, every one of those farmers brought in experts that said, yeah, this is a farm, and it has been a farm for 200 years, but we're planning on putting a subdivision in here someday. And so that's how we want to be valued. And that's what they convinced the jury that it was worth more than the city thought it was worth.
Right.
And that's the protection we ultimately have as citizens. They cannot take it unless they pay full value.
And I don't think